Can you see my screen at the moment?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, we
Can
can
you
see
see
your
my
screen, sir.
screen?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm presenting a software like we understand the trend that a lot of things are actually powered by software. Though if we look at ICT revolution, there is hardware, then there is software, then there is communication. So, I think the biggest driver within that revolution is software because um, most of the most of the intelligence that drive ICT actually embodied inside software. And what we call software will come in different guises. You've seen mobile apps, you've seen web apps, you have seen operating system like Android, like Windows. So they are all instances of software. So and they all perform different functions. So there are software that you develop to manage your hardware resources, like your operating system. Some you develop to manage to actually power devices like you have in the case of embedded systems or some software that we use to power robots. So, but generally you write software because you want some functionality like driving hardware devices, for instance, or you want some end user to be able to get some services like you want people to be able to check up their balances. You want students to be able to do registrations in a school setting, or you want to be able to pay to in a 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 restaurant, for instance, whenever you are presented with a POS machine, because your so-called POS machines are also powered by software. So the point is we do have software everywhere everywhere around us, and the power of forms of applications for us. They provide all forms of services to the users of the software. So as individuals, we have incentives to learn software because of the demand for the creators of those softwares, and those creators are usually given different names. So some people call them programmers. At times we call them software developers. So because you develop software whenever you create software. So the purpose of this presentation is to introduce opportunities in that sector so that we can probably have more a bigger incentive sort of to really go into software development. Though developing software as actually comes with a set of activities. You don't just sit down and say you want to start writing software. At times, you might need to understand the need of the people that will use your software. So, or you do what we call requirement gathering. So after requirement gathering, then you can then design the software. Then after that, you do development or the proper coding, programming. Then after that, you do testing. Then after that, you do deployment. So these are the set of activities that that characterize a typical software development project. So from my intro says software development is a versatile and dynamic field. I want to minimize. Okay, so there offers numerous opportunities and benefits, especially for beginners, with technology permeating every aspect of modern life. The demand for skilled software developers is high and continues to grow. And this guide explores the various opportunities and benefits that a software development offers to beginners, and providing insight into why it is a rewarding career path. So the takeaway from this slide is the field is versatile. So there are a lot of things involved in software development. A part of it is you must know how to elicit requirement from the users of your or from the ultimate users of your software. You don't want a situation where you develop your software and nobody want to use your software. So in a way, you should understand some social engineering. So then it's called a dynamic field. So it's actually a field that keeps changing. So today you might hear Android 1.0, then the following year you get another version. So it's actually a very dynamic field. So what that implies is for you to try the software development, you should be the type that is constantly reinventing himself. You should not be the type that will be. You should not be a static person. So you should be a lifelong learner. So it's a dynamic field, and it permits every aspect of modern life. Because you find software practically everywhere you go. There are software powering your planes, powering your TVs, powering your phones. So practically everywhere you go, you find need for software. So then there is a growing demand for software developers, simply because everybody needs software. Your devices need software, your TV needs software, your schools need software, your companies need software, your customers, they need software. Your people go to restaurants, they pay with POS machine. On those POS machines, there are softwares there. You go online, you visit people's website, you visit companies' website. Those sites are actually software. You are able to listen to this presentation because we are making use of software. So the demand for software is massive, and it's something that keeps growing from year to year. This is a data from Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US. According to the Labor Statistics Employment of Software Developer, according to the Bureau, employment of software developers is projected to grow from 22%. It's expected to grow 22% from 2020 between 2020 and 2030. So there is a projection of 22% growth rate. So much faster than the average for all occupations. So you can imagine the opportunity that portends for those who are interested in this business. And the growth is expected to result in about 409,500 new jobs over the decade. So a lot of industry can get 10% of what you are seeing here. So the demand is there, whereas the purpose of this presentation is to inspire the supply on our side. So this is another survey from this Stack Overflow 2021 developers survey found that it's 1% of professional developers who are employed full time, and demand for developer continues to rise as tech and software development become integral to more industries. So the good news is there are opportunities, there are jobs, and a lot of the people in this sector have jobs. It's 1% of professional developers who are employed full time. Though there are also opportunities for freelancing. Then, and when we talk about software development, there are different career paths. There are people that do web development, like
Sorry about that. I think he's having a bit of a network challenge. He'll join back shortly.
hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. I'm sorry, my network. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So before the network failure, I was talking about the different career path to software development, or the different forms of software development that you can do as a software developer. So there is web. So the web is what you see when you go on the internet. Your Facebook is actually a product of web development. Your TikTok, anything that you open with your browser is actually a web app. Then there's mobile. Mobile is another pathway. So you can develop apps that will run on iOS or apps that will run on your Android phones. Then there is also the desktop, a desktop type of software development. It's actually the type of software development you do when you put your apps on your Windows machine, for instance, Windows on your Linux. So it's not web and it's also not mobile. So then related to these three is AI, cybersecurity, cloud computing. Actually, you can make use of AI even while doing web development. You can also make use of AI while doing mobile app development. You can also make use of AI while doing desktop app development. So AI is you can say is a career path in software development, because there are people that write programs, that develop AI algorithms, AI libraries, which can then be incorporated into some other apps, which can even be incorporated into your web apps, which can be incorporated into your mobile app, which can be incorporated into your desktop applications. So meaning that I can sit down and write an AI library in any programming language of my choice, provided the language supports as the type of support the type of programming that I want to do. So then I can then make that library available to a web developer, to a mobile app developer, to a desktop app developer. And cybersecurity, for some people, they might say, is cybersecurity also a career path in software development? Yes, in the sense that there are people that are writing libraries which are being used by guys in cybersecurity. So, in fact, there is hardly anything you do in any part of computing that doesn't require software development, because some people wrote some of the tools that hackers are also using. So those people that wrote those tools, those software tools are programmers. They are usually not the hackers. Hackers will come back and use those tools. So that's why, in a way, you can say, okay, I'm a software developer, but I want to be developing hacking tools. I want to be developing tools that will be used by cybersecurity guys. So cybersecurity is equally you can see it as an application area of software development. The same thing with AI. The same thing with cloud computing. Anything you see in IT that is not hardware, if it is software that is powering that thing, then it means you need software development there. So, though the list on this slide, on this particular slide, is not exhaustive, because both in principle and in practice, there's no limit to where you can apply software development. You have software developers working in banks, and most of your banking applications, in fact, all your banking applications are developed by software developers. Some of those applications might be solving accounting problems. Some of them might be solving finance problems, but ultimately they have to be developed by software developers. Only that the software developer might need some knowledge of banking operation, some knowledge of accounting. Like I developed one in Redeemers University, which they use for doing accounting. So I needed to learn accounting in order to draw that. So at a point I was talking double entry principle, I was talking final accounts, but at the same time I'm still a programmer. So there's no limit to where you can apply or deploy software development. So I've actually talked about those basic categories like web development. So like I said previously, anything that you can access through your browser is actually a product of web development. And for web development, like every aspect of software development, you also need to understand the tools. In fact, every discipline requires you to master the tools of the business. So in doing software development, you need tools. And some of the tools that we typically need is a programming language. So, and depending on the particular type of software development you are also doing. So the tools can also vary. So for somebody doing web development, typically in HTML to create the user interfaces of your web app or your website. So HTML is an example of what we call a markup language. So we have some other markup languages that are also related to HTML. There is XHTML, there is dynamic HTML, there's XML, but fundamentally you can't do anything web without HTML or without a markup language. Then beside the markup language like HTML, then you also need a way of styling your pages so that your pages can look nicer. So that's why a technology like CSS comes in. CSS is an acronym for Cascading Style Sheet. At times you've been to some sites and you see some good looking design, very sleeky. At times you mouse over, the color will change. You mouse over, something will happen to the font of the text on that particular website. Those are the type of things that you can do with CSS. Then if we need more interactivity on your web app, and when I say web app, I'm equally assuming websites. Exactly, I'm equally assuming websites. So if we need serious interactivity that you can't get with just CSS, then you can make use of a scripting language like JavaScript. There's JavaScript. There used to be VBScript, but it's not as popular as JavaScript. So then there's also React, which is a recent development. Then there's Node.js and some other technologies. So some of those technologies, some people put them under the front end. Under the front end technology, there is front end, there is back end. I think I have a slide that discusses this whole idea of front end and back end. But for web, anything web, like I said previously, it's about your site. You open your browser and you see a web page. On a typical site, you can have 2 or more web pages. You can have 1 or more web pages rather. So, but on every page, you need to design, you need to create the content of the page in HTML. HTML is the basic thing that you need for you to do web development. So then, if you now need some nice styling, then you can add CSS to the mix. Then you need some more serious interactivity, then you add JavaScript. React is actually a glorified JavaScript. So it's still a form of JavaScript. So web development involves the creation and maintenance of websites and web applications that are run on the internet or intranet, and it encompasses various disciplines, including web design, web content development, client-side and server-side scripting, and network security configuration. So what that part of this slide is saying is, for web development, you can actually put your site on the internet, and you can also put it on a local network called intranet. At times, you have a business, a very big organization, you want to host some of your content locally. You don't want the general public to see part of your site. So those part of your site or your apps or your web apps you can host locally or internally. So that part of your network that is internal is what we call intranet. Then the other part that is global, that is the internet. So then what we call web development also comes with different roles. There are people that do design. I think before this presentation, somebody was talking about UI, UX. So those are the types of things go under design, because before you start building a website, you usually start with design, or even before design, you start with requirement gathering. You want to understand the need of the users. So you gather their requirement. What do they want? What do they require? Then after that, you do your design. You create the template, the look and feel of the site. Then after that, you now do the proper development. The proper development is when you now start using your HTML, your CSS, your JavaScript, and some of your backend technologies. Then the other thing about this slide, there is a part that is a part of the slide that is talking about client server side scripting. So, and what that means is web apps, because when you develop your website, ultimately you need to put it on a server. There is what we call a server or a web server. So there are popular web server like IIS, Apache, so KD, and so on and so forth. But some of the most popular ones, especially the most popular two, are Apache and IIS. So every site or every web app that you develop, ultimately you want them to be served by a server. So then in developing your website or your web app, there are also texts, there are also tools, there are scripting technologies, there are programming languages that you will use in such a way that some of your code will run on the server and some of your code will run on the client. A very popular client is your web browser. So in a client server framework, the server is that thing that is providing a service, usually a software that is providing a service. Then the client is that software that want to consume that service. So a browser like your Internet Explorer, your Chrome, your Firefox is a client. Then somewhere on the network, either within the local network on your global network is a server. So by default, the server will host your web app. So if a user now opens his browser and it types the address of your server and the name of your app, then what will happen is the browser will now connect to that server and ask that server to supply the requested page within the site. So my point is, most interaction that you have online through your web browser are actually interaction between a client software and a server-side software. So the client side is actually embodied by your web browser. Then the server side is usually not visible to you. You won't see the Apache when you open your web browser. You won't see IIS. You won't see the server side technology used in developing the website when you open your web browser. So, but at the back of your mind, you should know that every interaction that you have on the web is always an interaction between a client and a server. And one popular trend that we all know is our browser. No Chrome, we know Firefox, we know Internet Explorer, we know Opera, and the rest. So that is clear. So and even as a developer, there are tools, there are technologies that that you will learn about, and that you will also use in the course of your software development, that we require that whatever you write with such technologies are meant to be executed on the server. Then in that sense, we will say that such technology are server-side technology. For instance, if I'm developing a site with PHP, and most PHP code that I write will be executed on my web server. So, but if I'm writing code with JavaScript, for instance, most JavaScript code are executed on the client. I say most for JavaScript. In fact, for PHP, either PHP, Java now, not JavaScript, PHP, JavaScript, C#, and most of those code are typically executed on the server side. But if it is JavaScript, if it is HTML, if it is CSS, if it is React, it's actually your browser that usually execute those code. But for JavaScript, it is usually your browser, not always. But for HTML, I can say it is always. For CSS, it is always. React is also usually these days, because there is I think some of there are I think React also falls within the client side tech. So a lot of the times your React code are also executed by your browser, because part of what you must also understand is especially if you are doing web development, is that each time you are writing, you are developing a web app, you should know where you should know which part of your code will be executed on the server, and which part will be executed within the browser. The browser is the client. So knowing that has a whole lot of implication in the way you code. It has implication in the quality of decisions you make as a programmer. So in nutshell, you should know your tools. You should be able to say, okay, these tools, these texts are client-side tools, and these tools are server-side tools. Then there is mobile development. So for mobile, it is actually the type of development you do when you need to run your apps on, say, Android devices. So there are also texts. So these are some of the classic car technology, but there are also new technologies in town that you can also use to develop mobile apps. So I think currently I'm even using one for uh, I'm using one on that .NET called Zamu and .NET Mali. So that one is actually Microsoft technology. So there are all forms of technology outside there, but each time you need to do a mobile development, so you should ask what are the tools that I can use. Then, depending on your use case, so some tools might be preferred. Okay, like I said, a minute ago that I'm equally using Zamu and Mali, and the reason why I'm using that technology to develop my mobile app is because one is actually a Microsoft tech, so a lot of things about Microsoft are actually easier to understand. The documentation, their language, then the support are also very rich. The ecosystem is very rich. Then I think the other reason why I'm using that tech is in developing the UI for my app. I'm using Zamu. That Zamu is like HTML. Is equally a markup language like HTML, like XML. So it's easier for somebody who is coming from web development to use such a technology to develop mobile app. So that's another reason why I'm using that tech. But in any case, each time you need to do any form of development, either web or mobile, you need to ask questions. Okay, for this type of development, what are the available tools? Then, among the available tools, which one are the right tools for my situation, for my a part of your situation could be the constraint that you have in your company. It could be the constraint that you have in your sector. Part of your situation can be even you yourself, where you are coming from as a developer, and your taste, your style, your preferences. So the list here is equally not exhaustive. You remember at the beginning of this presentation, we said that software development is actually a versatile business. So there are a whole lot of things, so many things. So you can never have an exhaustive list of anything in this business. So mobile development refers to the process of creating application for mobile devices, such as your smartphones and tablets, and it involves designing, building, and deploying software applications. So you can see a thread here, either web or mobile or desktop. Software development is the set of activities that comprises software development are actually the same across board. You do designing, you do building, you do deployment. Though before designing, you can have requirement engineering or requirement gathering. So you need to gather requirement. Then after that, you do design. Then after that, you do building. The building is what we can also call the proper coding or the proper programming. Then after that, you now deploy. So it's actually the same set of activities, regardless of the type of software development you are doing, be it web, be it mobile, be it desktop, be it that you are developing software that will embed AI intelligence or artificial intelligence, or you are developing software that will be used by hackers, by cyber security practitioners, or you are developing software that will be used or that will be used to power cloud services, is actually the same set of activities. Gather requirement, because you must understand the problem you want to solve. So otherwise, your situation will be like you are providing solution when you don't know the problem. So the process of gathering requirements is actually the process of you understanding the problem you want to solve. So once you understand the problem, then you can then profile solution. And what's the solution? Software development. So you design, then you build, then you deploy. Though in between building and deployment, then you can also add testing, because after you build or you write the program, they also need to test. You need to be sure that the software works as expected. So testing. So then in doing development, we make use of programming languages. I've actually repeated that several times. Then we make use of frameworks. There are frameworks, there are libraries. So we sometimes make distinction between frameworks and libraries. But for the purpose of this presentation, you can see them as those tools that you need to do your job. So even your programming language, your programming languages like Python, like React Native, C#, PHP, Java, JavaScript, they're also tools. So you need them to be able to write programs. So then I made mention of AI too. AI, there is hardly anything you can do. You can do now that AI. So I'm sure most of us have actually used, or I suppose rather, most of us have used ChatGPT before, or something related, or something equivalent to ChatGPT. So it's actually a trend these days to see software that you can engage interactively and ask questions that can give you intelligent responses as if you are talking to a human being. So originally, when people started with software development, so most of the requirement of users were embedded in those software. Then over time, people now realize that we can actually build software that can synthesize knowledge. Imagine you write a program that can add two numbers, but tomorrow you want that same program to be able to concatenate two strings. So if you don't go back and embed that intelligence in your program, your program will never be able to do that. So until AI came into the scene, so most of the software programs that people were writing were not displaying the type of intelligence that we human beings can actually call intelligence. Because when we say somebody is intelligent, one of the hallmarks or one of the signs could be that the person is able to answer questions impromptu and is able to answer questions creatively. So initially software development were not creative, but now we are now having software. We are now having apps that are very creative, that can intelligently handle tasks that they were not originally programmed to handle. That is proper intelligence, because even as human, before you can say somebody is intelligent, even the same thing for me. I won't say somebody is intelligent because he can regurgitate facts. You can just give out what you have been given before. No, but if you can show creativity, innovation, then that is proper intelligence. So that is what AI brings into the table for our business or for this industry. So now we can now write software that are truly intelligent. Okay, so we can now write software that are truly intelligent. So it is an aspect of software development that we should all take seriously as beginners or as or as or as experienced programmers. So the more intelligent software we can write, the better for our career, because the demand for intelligent software is actually growing too. So I discuss cybersecurity, so I need to move faster. Then there is cloud. So cloud computing is another big trend. I'm sure you read about cloud services like AWS by Amazon. So, and cloud is popular for a whole lot of things. And one of those reasons is because of, of virtualization. Maybe another reason is because of virtualization. So it's actually easy to move your services from one machine to another in a way that is so transparent, and without breaking anything, and without disrupting your services to your customers. So, and they're also cheaper relative to where we are coming from, when companies who are doing dedicated hosting or VPS hosting in order to host their apps on the internet. Though there are also on the premise cloud hosting services. So because of our time, then we move. So there's also DevOps. So I'm equally putting this under software development, because all these are also powered by software. So sometimes as developers, our job will be to build tools for guys that want to do DevOps. So, but when we say DevOps, is actually an aggregation of development and operation. So it's another part of our business that we need to understand. So all areas. So in passing, I made mention of front end and back end, that most of the apps that we develop, they have their front end, and the front end are the part that are visible to the end users of your apps. So these are some of the popular tools that we use in developing front end applications. Then we have back end. The back end are typically not visible to end users of our apps. Then one of the popular things that you find on backend are your database, then your API endpoints. So that is backend type. So opportunities. So there is freelancing for people that want to do, that don't want to do that, that don't want full-time employment. So it's equally a big trend in this industry. So that's so. Thank you for your time. Hello. Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kunle. Your time was really appreciated. Thanks for the beautiful insight on software development. And we hope to learn further more from you as time goes on. Thank you so much for your time. So down to the house, please. If you have further question concerning this section so far, you can drop every of your question in the chat section. And also, the Registration form will be passed across to you shortly. As for the registration, yeah, it's going to be sent to your email shortly. The registration includes courses you would like to partake in for the 2 weeks duration. So in no time, you'll get the email as soon as possible. Thank you for joining us on this session. Please, just before we end this, I would like to open the floor for quick questions where we would attend to just 2 to 3 people. Please, if you have a question, can you kindly come forward and ask questions? Okay, I will take that as a
Yes, Emmanuel, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. I just wanted to ask if we miss any of the classes, will the recordings be made available to us so that we can catch up?
Thanks for the question, Manuel. As for the shortest answer to the question is yes, recording is going to be available, but still try as much as possible to attend the class because yeah, just try and be there. Just try and be there for the class. But obviously, recording is also going to be available. Is there any other question? Just 2 more questions to go. Okay. Right now, in the absence of the question, we would like to bring this to a wrap. Thank you for joining us today. And if there is any other information that needs to be passed across to you, you'll be getting it via your email. And okay, also, there is still room for others that if you know anybody that would like to be interested in joining the program, you can still pass the information across to them to join us. It's lasting for 2 weeks and it's free. I mean, it's not going to cost them anything other than their time and their attention. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the session. Thank you very much for joining. We hope to see you soon also.